I apologize about this coming out a little like, oh my God, cricket. Ugh, I hate cricket orders because some of them get out. Oh, squirrel. Yeah, anyway, back to what we were doing. So, how can you make your aquarium more interesting? Now, everybody has their own flow of how they want their tanks. Do they want them heavily planted like this one right here? Do they want driftwood coming out? Do they want just a bare looking tank? There's no wrong answer to this. The biggest things I can recommend is to think about the fish that are going in here. Obviously, if you have schooling tanks, then you want to leave the perimeter exposed. Holy crap. Let me back out. There we go. So if I were to take this piece of poppy wood here and I wanted it in here, obviously you don't want it blocking one side, especially for schooling fish. You want to leave the edges exposed. Now obviously this piece is way too big for this setup. Now something you could also do, obviously if this tank was bigger, you could angle it like that. That way it leaves an opening for them to go around it. Something else you could also do would be to set it on the ground. That way your fish have plenty of room swimming up top. Now, poppy wood is not the only kind of wood here. You know, we have rosewood. I'm sorry, redwood, not rosewood. That's rosewood over there. You could also do rocks. Now, rocks have their pros and cons. Now, we're not going to grab that piece because that piece is really big. You also have to think about the rules of thirds when it comes to aquariums. Now, I'm not going to get into the rules of third today. If you want, I can do a whole video on it. But scaping is an art form when it comes to aquariums. Now, the thing I can recommend here is if you're going to do rock, be mindful of what kind of fish you have. If you have plecos and you have big rocks with big gaps, I've seen plecos get stuck in rocks. They get jammed in corners and then they can't back out. So just keep that in mind. And if you want, you don't even have to do live plants. You could do fake plants. You could do fake decor, sand. There is no wrong answer here. I mean, you could have something simple like this where you have a rock, you have moss, your filter's over here. Same kind of setup. Can you tell what kind of setup I like? But then you get over here where you have a piece of driftwood and then maybe some rocks over here. And this one is heavily planted and thick. But then you can get into driftwood. Now you see how the driftwood here, this is actually spiderwood that's in here. And you see how it branches out and then we have plants in the background. There's no wrong answer, but we want to make our tanks interesting for us because obviously you don't want to have an aquarium sitting in your house and it be boring, because then you're less likely to take care of it and you're just like, I don't like that. Honestly, a lot of fish hobbyists redo their tanks all the time because we get bored with how our tank looks and we want to freshen it up. We want to liven it up. You see how we have rocks in here. We have that formation just to give it that little bit of difference. And that's how we can make our tanks more interesting. Obviously, in a retail setting, I can't let my tanks be too intricate because I sell my plants out of my aquariums. So, for example, if I were to have this tank as a cichlid tank, they like hides, they like rocks. I could do a big, beautiful rock display in the back. But the problem with that is that I would struggle. If someone wanted to buy one of the cichlids, I would struggle to get the fish out. Plants really aren't a huge deal because most of the ones that we have are potted or rooted. So it's not difficult to get them out, but it's difficult to get the fish out. Now, that's being a store. Being at home, you are not pulling out fish on a regular basis. You're not well, I mean, who knows, you might be changing it. But I just wanted to give you guys different options of different things to think about when it comes to making your tank more interesting. You could, like I said, you could have top floaters like this. You could have gravel, you could have sand, you could have platform. Whoa, almost fell. Platforms down here. And yes, I am aware that these koi are way too big for this tank. If you saw our last video, we're in spawning right now, and if you look closely, these butterflies have their fins shredded, and that's from the big male. And so I moved them in here so that we can quarantine them and treat them and get them feeling better, and then after spawning season they can get moved back to the pond. But yeah, just keep that in mind, guys. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know how you make your tank interesting. With that being said, guys, I will see you next time.